video, we are going to be looking at the inference question for the Weimar and Nazi Germany paper, which is paper 3 of your Gcse 91 Edexcel history course. So the inference question aims to see what you can gather from the source. In other words, what information you can figure from the source, or what does the source give an insight into. So this could be an insight into a particular event, into a role of a person, into the party manifestos. It could be anything which tells you something more about that thing that you are being asked about. So the structure is fairly simple because it is only a 4-mark question. You need to make 2 inferences, both of which need to be clear and distinct. So your first paragraph will be your point 1, which is you making your inference, and then you need to support that point by using a quote from the source. I didn't repeat that, but with a different inference. So it is a 4-mark question, which means that you can spend up to 6 minutes on this question, because in history papers you have 1.5 minutes per mark. However, because it is usually a fairly simple question, because it is the first one, try aiming for 5 minutes, so this will give you an extra minute for the harder questions toward the end of the paper. Remember, each inference is marked separately and therefore points should not overlap, so you need to be careful not to repeat what you're saying. So there's 3 things that you need to watch out for. These are: make sure you are making an inference, which means that a paraphrase of the source is not accepted. You can't write an inference which is just saying what the source says in your own words. There's an example at the end of this video that will make it more clearer. And finally, do not overcomplicate. It is a very short and concise answer because you don't need to find something really fancy, something really mind-blowing. It needs to be really simple just to get you those 4 marks at the very beginning of the paper. So this is an example from the 2018 history paper. Study source A below and then answer question 1. Source A is from Berlin Diary by William Scherer. Scherer was an American journalist living in Berlin at the time of the Olympic Games. He wrote this diary entry in August 1936. The Olympic Games finally came to an end today. Hitler and the others showed up this afternoon for the final ceremony, which continued until well after dark. The Nazis have succeeded with their propaganda. First, the Nazis have run the games on an extravagant scale never before experienced, and this has appealed to the athletes. Second, the Nazis have put on a good show for the general visitors, especially those who are big businessmen. Give 2 things you can infer from source A about the success of the Berlin Olympic Games in 1936. Okay, so first of all, let's go back to the paraphrase point I was making. Look at this sentence here. The Nazis have succeeded with their propaganda. What a lot of people did was they said that the Berlin Olympic Games in 1936 was a success because the Nazi Party were able to portray their regime through the use of propaganda. However, that doesn't make sense because you already told that they succeeded because of their propaganda. Instead, a better thing to have said would have been something along the lines that the Berlin Olympic Games was a success because the Nazi Party were able to portray an oppressive regime, which shows the impact of the propaganda. So let's look at another sentence, here. The second, the Nazis have put on a good show for the general visitors, especially those who are big businessmen. Now, what does this suggest? So they've got the attention of big businessmen, which suggests that the Berlin Olympic was a success because they gained the support of businessmen, which meant that they had more funding for their party. So anything in a source which tells you something more about it. So think of the impact of whatever has happened. For example, here, the Nazis have run the games on an extravagant scale never before experienced. What does this tell? It shows that the Berlin Olympic Games was a success because the Nazi Party were able to sort of show their regime, show their power, how big of a party they were, and that's why it was a success. So take any sentence, and if it has an impact, if you can see something more to it, then it is an inference. Okay, let's have a go at writing an example. Okay, so let's look at the point about the Nazi Party and their regime and being impressive. So start off like this. From source A, I can infer that the success of the Berlin Olympics so it's good to have the words of the question, shows that you're really answering the question, was because the Nazi Party was able to reflect a good impression of their regime. And that is my point, so that's my inference. And I need to support it simply by saying this is supported by, and then your quote, the Nazis have succeeded with their propaganda, and that's it. That is the end of your inference, because you've got your point here and then you've supported it, and that's all you need to. Okay, so pause the video and try writing the second one about the big businessman and getting getting the support of the big businessman. Pause the video and let's see if you can come up with something similar to the first inference. Okay, so we'll start the second one like this. I can also infer that the Nazi Party were able to grab the attention of big. Well, grab the attention doesn't sound that good. How about we go? We're able to gain the support of the big business owners. And that's my inference. Now we just support it. This is seen in, and then your quote. The Nazis have put on a good show for the general visitors, especially those who are big businessmen. And that's it. That is your 2 inference done, and that should get you 4 out of 4. So let's have a look at the mark scheme. Okay, so it says award 1 mark for each valid inference up to a maximum of 2 inferences. The second mark for each example should be awarded for supporting details selected from the source. Remember, it is supporting details, so it does need to make sense. If it doesn't, then you will not get that mark. So the examples, the Nazis have created a good impression of the regime. That's what we said, so we'd get 1 mark there. And then it says the Nazis have succeeded with their propaganda. Again, another 1 mark because the quote supports the inference. Let's look at the second point. The games were better than any previous Olympic Games. The Nazis have run the games on an extravagant scale never before experienced. Okay, so that's another point we could have said. And finally, the games have helped the Nazis to gain favor with big business owners. That's what we said, gain the support of big business owners. It's similar along the same lines. And it is supported by the Nazis have put on a good show for the general visitors, especially those who are big businessmen. And so we would have got 4 out of 4 in that question. Have a look at this line here. It says, accept other appropriate alternatives. Now, this is what makes this question so easy to get the marks, because it means you're not limited to the mark scheme. Whatever you write, as long as it is an inference and as long as it is supported, you will get your marks. And that is why this question is really simple. So I hope this video was useful. If it was, please give it a like, subscribe, share, and put any comments down below, any questions you have, and I will answer them.